In 1970, we had the opportunity to experience for the first time a film called There Was a Crooked Man. This Western was based on the Mother Goose rhyme of the same name. There was a crooked man, and he walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence against a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, which caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a little crooked house. Who doesn't remember that childhood rhyme? But this film was a Western that had nothing to do with that rhyme. Apart from the fact that someone was crooked, that crooked man was Paris Pittman Jr., played by Kirk Douglas. He was a charming, red-haired outlaw who wouldn't hesitate to shoot his best friend in the back to get closer to $500,000. There was also a straight man in the film named Woodward Lopeman, played by Henry Fonda. He was a brave and incorruptible sheriff with liberal ideas about the penal system and a complete distaste for violence. In this legendary Western setting, these two men meet in a territorial prison, located in the middle of a flat, arid, and desolate landscape, with Lopeman as the warden and Pittman as his prisoner. The warden, endowed with all the patience and understanding of a street preacher facing his first live congregant, embarks on the task of rehabilitating Pittman. He works and works until one day, but I'd better not give that away, because that's what There Was a Crooked Man is about. The film was written by David Newman and Robert Benton, best known for writing Bonnie and Clyde. It was directed by Joseph Mankiewicz, who usually wrote his own scripts, sardonic comedies that belong to an earlier, more classical era of cinema. The film is rather quiet, taking its time to unfold, and it showcases the somewhat bitter humor associated with the director. This was his first Western, but in some ways it was illuminated by the heritage of old Hollywood, especially in the roles played by Kirk Douglas and Henry Fonda, who portrayed variations of their legendary screen personas. This was an outlaw who, for a change, was actually as evil as he was supposed to be. And Fonda was the pure hero. The film starts as a broad satire but eventually turns into a fairly straightforward melodrama involving prison riots and the like, before ending on a rather mild note of cynicism. This mix of humor and genres requires some patience from the audience, but it's worth it. The film truly possesses some of the old-fashioned virtues of commercial filmmaking. Douglas and Fonda give great performances, their Hollywood stardom shining through with the ease that comes with experience. Equally comfortable are the members of the large supporting cast, which includes Burgess Meredith, Warren Oates, Martin Gable, and especially Hume Cronin and John Randolph, who play a pair of elderly con men whose long-term homosexual relationship has evolved into a grumpy companionship. The film is ultimately a duel between two men, one good, one bad. And it's these smaller, more civilized confrontations, delivered with irony and wit, that make this movie truly enjoyable to watch. The studio, Warner Brothers, and its main office were quite concerned about this film. It was shot over a 5-month period in the first half of 1969, but more than a year passed before it was given any commercial screening. The director's cut of the film ran for 165 minutes, but Warner Brothers objected and re-edited it to a more manageable 126 minutes. One notable casualty of this re-editing was the prominent performance of Lee Grant, a well-known actress at the time, whose appearance was reduced to just a couple of minutes. Much of the filming took place at Joshua Tree National Monument, 50 miles northeast of Indio, California. This was the first time a movie was allowed to be filmed there. The location was so remote that a 3-mile-long wagon road had to be cleared and widened to provide access to the site. The prison set took 7 weeks to build. When construction began, it was snowing. By the time it was completed, temperatures had soared to 100 degrees. After filming was finished, the entire set had to be removed, and the area had to be restored to its original pristine condition. The prison that was built stood 20 feet tall, with walls 4 feet thick, enclosing 14 buildings, including guard barracks, the warden's residence, a mess hall, a kitchen, a hospital, a blacksmith shop, a mule shed, and a corral with 7 watchtowers. They even brought in 80 loads of rocks, which had to be transported and later removed to create the massive rock pile of hard labor seen in the film. It's said that Kirk Douglas had the largest dressing trailer on set. It was located just outside the prison yard of the filming location and reportedly featured a white picket fence, a mailbox, 2 planters, and a patch of green grass planted out front. Since no native plants could be damaged during filming, thousands of desert plants also had to be transported to this location. Barbara Rhodes played a schoolteacher who was invited to the opening of the prison's new dining hall. The attractive and flamboyantly dressed young woman was there to provide comic relief during what followed, a riot, in which she is shown in flashes, losing more and more of her clothing. Her character's real name was Jessie Brundridge, but it is never mentioned in the film or the end credits. She is referred to only as the schoolteacher. In that climactic prison uprising, she is last seen wearing a corset with a generous neckline, once again losing more and more clothing. However, Barbara Rhodes later revealed that the scene originally went much further than what audiences ultimately saw. In the original cut, she ended up completely nude. She said she didn't realize her scene would be so explicit until the day of filming. She simply followed the director's instructions, removing her clothing until she was running around the set entirely naked. Her character was supposed to flee after having all her clothes torn off, and she is seen running through the desert in her birthday suit. At least 2 still photos, apparently from the film, support this story. They show her wearing the same hat and elbow-length gloves mentioned earlier. One image shows her bare-chested from the waist up, while the second shows her full, unclothed figure. Playboy reportedly asked her to do a photo shoot at the time based on that scene, but she refused. She said she was happy that the nudity had been edited out of the final cut. She also stated that she had no problem being completely naked in front of the cast and crew, but she didn't want photos or footage of it lingering for the rest of her life. Eileen O'Neill was originally offered the role but turned it down. She said that when she read the script and saw that her character was attacked by rioting prisoners who tore off her clothes, she simply couldn't bring herself to do it. By today's standards, what remains of this scene is rather tame. The film was marketed as a cynical Western and was released on Christmas Day, 1970. It performed poorly at the box office. Take a look at this entertaining film. I think you'll enjoy it. It's definitely a different kind of Western, with unusual edits, camera angles, and dialogue. I loved it.